5 NBA superstars who disappear in big moments. Every team needs a superstar in order to be relevant and successful in this league, but unfortunately, some superstars don't show up when the lights get bright and the stage gets even bigger. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the current NBA superstars in the NBA today that can produce a solid game at any given night, but somehow, when the pressure is on, they collapse when it counts. Now let me clarify, the players that I'm about to mention have all hit in their fair share of game winners, but I'm going to focus more on their lack of mental strength in big defining games. Blake Griffin. He is a 5-time All-Star and is one of the most athletic power forwards we've seen in recent years, and is fully capable of putting up big numbers for the LA Clippers. But during the big moments, I've noticed that he resorts to some very bad habits. In my opinion, I believe that he tries to be the hero when he doesn't need to be, which results in some costly turnovers that hurts his team, and he starts jacking up random mid-range shots that are unnecessary when he has a smaller defender on him, instead of taking advantage of the mismatch and posting up towards the basket. He just checks out and starts making the wrong decisions down the stretch that he normally wouldn't make in the earlier parts of the game. Also, his fourth quarter field goal percentage has dropped in the playoffs compared to his regular season field goal percentage. Blake Griffin is a very valuable piece to have in your team, but he needs to work on how he executes his game when the pressure is on. Russell Westbrook. Westbrook is probably the most ferocious and explosive point guard in NBA history and is a walking triple-double machine waiting to happen. But if I had to pick one player to give the ball to in the final minute, it definitely would not be Russell Westbrook. Now don't get me wrong, I want the ball in his hands almost every second of the game, which it is, but not during the most critical parts of the game. He tends to get really sloppy and out of control on the offensive end of the court. He begins to become trigger happy and never seems to take his time and actually produce a smart play when they need it most. He has no hesitation when it comes to trying to score the ball, which is a great mentality for most of the game, but it can also be a very scary mentality that can be dangerous for his team in late game situations. I don't even think I need to mention his field goal percentage late in games, because what I witnessed from watching him, he's just not considered a clutch player, and you can just tell from the naked eye that he doesn't perform well in the clutch. Also, I was very excited to watch the Thunder play against the Warriors back on November 3rd, because I thought that Westbrook would turn into a monster, but it looked like the moment just got too big for him. Once again, I think he is absolutely an amazing player and is one of my favorite players to watch. But if the ball is in his hands during critical moments of a big game, I tend to hold my breath because he is too much of a wild card and you never know what you're going to get from him. Kevin Durant. KD is arguably one of the best players in the world and is always in the running for MVP every year. He definitely can dominate any game without even trying, but only for about the first 3 quarters of the game. He tends to shrink when the pressure of the fourth quarter appears and shies away from the ball and resorts to passing to his teammates more, instead of trying to take over the game himself, which he is fully capable of doing. He clearly did not have what it took to compete in the 2012 NBA Finals against the Heat. In the last 3 fourth quarters of that series, he only dropped 4, 6, and 6 points. And got destroyed in just 5 games. And obviously, blowing that humiliating 3-1 lead in the Western Conference Finals against the Warriors last year, he was absolutely incredible that series in the first 4 games. He would always do work in the first half of those games, but would always seem to collapse when it mattered the most, and failed to close out the Warriors 3 games in a row. Also, on Christmas Day 2016, the way Durant was playing in that game seemed like he was focused and motivated to finally beat LeBron, putting up 33 points in the first 3 quarters. But yet again, he couldn't handle the bright lights and ended with only 3 points in the final 9 minutes, which were all free throws and 0 field goals. And in my opinion, I don't even think he got fouled by Richard Jefferson on the last play of that game. I believe he just couldn't execute like a clutch player would have. Kevin Durant is still an outstanding player at the highest level, but I guess he just doesn't have that alpha dog mentality down the stretch of important games like he should have. And he must have a weak mentality because he thought if he can't beat him, he might as well join him. And he just wanted an easier path to the finals with the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry. Curry is the back-to-back MVP and is arguably the greatest shooter of all time. And yes, he has hit some clutch shots in the past, but I'm talking about showing up in the crucial moments when there's a lot on the line. Steph has clearly been the best player in the regular season for the past couple of years, and that's obviously why he won those multiple MVP awards. And you can also say that he steps up in the playoffs and puts on a show. And yes, I know the playoffs are important, but as he goes deeper in the playoffs, like let's say the finals, he is nowhere to be found and turns basically invisible. I don't know what it is about Steph Curry when it comes to big stages. You would think that he would actually thrive and be the same MVP player that we are used to seeing, but it's like he has a meltdown under pressure. He starts making a lot of careless passes in crunch time and is far less efficient with his shot, and it is very disappointing to watch considering that he needs to be more consistent when all eyes are watching during those career-defining moments that could make or break his legacy. And the career-defining games that I'm talking about have all been against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Every time he faces the Cavs, whether it's in the finals or on Christmas Day, he always gets outplayed by Kyrie Irving, and there is always someone on the Golden State Warriors doing the heavy lifting for most of the time. So I guess that's why Andre Iguodala was named the finals MVP 2 years ago. And all he needed to do was explode for at least one game to close out the Cavs in last year's finals. But as we all know, Steph Curry and the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead. I want to make it clear that I'm not trying to be a Curry hater, and I acknowledge that he is very talented. It's just that he needs to start having efficient games under his belt in the important games if he wants to go down as one of the all-time greats. LeBron James. Now before I start, I know what you guys are thinking. LeBron has redeemed himself from all his collapses in the past because he put on a performance in the last two finals that we have never seen before and came back from a 3-1 deficit that has never been done in the finals before. But before that, he was actually considered one of the worst at executing down the stretch in massive legacy games. Some people say that he had a weak mentality for a superstar, and instead of being the chosen one, he became the frozen one. There has been a handful of moments where he didn't rise to the occasion, like when he had 3 crucial turnovers late in the game in Game 6 of the 2013 NBA Finals, but luckily for him, Ray Allen saved his legacy with that incredible shot. And in the 2011 NBA Finals when he shied away from the ball in all the fourth quarters and could not overcome the Mavs. Or like when he completely gave up on his team in a closeout game against Boston in 2010. And just recently, Stephen A. Smith has mentioned that he would take LeBron for the first 46 minutes in a game, but not in the final 2 minutes. Also, Skip Bayless has stated that LeBron hasn't had enough Kyrie-type moments in his career and always turns to Kyrie to save the day when he wants him to bring it home. But those are their words, not mine. And don't get me wrong, I know he has risen to the occasion plenty of times when it mattered most, especially during elimination games. Even though Jordan never let a series go to Game 7, at least LeBron hasn't lost a Game 7 in his career since 2008, and has conquered many things that stood in his way. For me, I believe ever since the amazing block that he had in Game 7 of last year's finals, he has officially redeemed himself from most of the negative scrutiny that he endured for many years. It's just that I thought I might as well put him on this list because he does have a track record of shrinking when the magnitude of the game is at its highest and there's a lot on the line. So that was the list of the NBA superstars that carry a lot of the load on their shoulders for most of the game, but basically disappear when the lights get bright. I made sure that I left my emotions out of it and just included the facts. And I just want to acknowledge one more time that I am a very big fan of all of the players that were in this video, and I don't want to come across as a hater. Feel free to comment down below if there's a player in your mind that you think is basically not clutch. Thanks for watching guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe.